All right, today we are doing a complete breakdown of one of the absolute most popular builds in Blue Protocol Star Resonance, the Wildpack Marksman. You probably know it as the Wolf Bow. We're going to be diving deep into the awesome FTP-friendly guide that 1010 made famous.
So, let me ask you a question. Are you on the hunt for a class that just melts things, is super chill to play, and doesn't ask you to spend a single dime? Yeah? Well then you are gonna love what we're talking about today.
Okay, let's kick things off. First up, Section 1. Let's meet the Wolf Bow. We gotta get to know what this class is really all about and what makes it such a killer choice, especially if you're playing free-to-play.
So at its heart, the Wildpack Marksman is a pet class. I mean, that's the whole deal. Your number one job is to basically be a hype man for your summoned wolf, because that little guy is going to be doing almost all of your damage. It's a simple, super focused playstyle, which makes it an absolute favorite for new players.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. You're looking at a huge trade-off here. On one side, it's just phenomenal for auto battle. It needs very little investment to feel strong, which is, music to any F2P player's ears. But on the other side, the damage can feel a little random, and it definitely hits a wall in the super late game, which is exactly why the big spenders, the whales, usually stay away.
Let's move on to our second section, your core skill kit. This is where you really make or break your damage, but trust me, the priority list here is way simpler than you might think.
Okay, listen up, because this is probably the single most important piece of advice in this entire explainer. Your basic attack, it's not just your attack. Every point you put into this skill is a direct power-up for your wolf. And since the wolf is doing all the heavy lifting, this is your number one, non-negotiable, top priority, period.
So here is it, your roadmap. It's super straightforward. Get that basic attack to level 6. Don't touch anything else until that's done. After that, you'll pump points into Wild Call to get more wolves on the field. Then you'll level up Focus for that super important haste buff. And Storm Arrow, that's the last on the list of your core skills. See? Simple.
And this is just as critical. Do not waste skill books on these 3 skills. I'm serious. Leveling up Torrent, Arrow Rain, or even your ultimate is actually a damage loss. Why? Because they have these super long animations that just lock you in place, and the damage you get out of them is tiny. Just save your resources, you'll thank me later.
All right, Section 3, mastering your rotation. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably bracing for some complex, piano-playing sequence of skills, right? Well, the best advice for most people is actually refreshingly simple.
I mean, you gotta love this quote from 1010. It just says it all. For pretty much every situation, just hit H and let auto battle do its thing. It's consistent, it's powerful, and it's gonna save you from a massive headache.
Now, for you min-maxers out there, for the people who want to squeeze out every last drop of damage, there is a manual rotation. And the entire goal, the whole puzzle, is to time everything so perfectly that you get all 4 of your different wolves out and attacking at the exact same time, right when your damage buffs are active. It is a very, very tight window.
But, and this is a huge but, here's the catch. If you pull it off flawlessly, you get about a 10% damage boost. Great. But if you mess up that timing by even a little bit, your damage will actually be lower than if you just stuck with auto battle. So for like 99% of us, auto is the smarter, safer, and just plain better choice. Okay, let's get into the gear. Section 4, gearing up for success. To really make this class sing, there is one very specific stat, one magic number that you have to hit.
There it is, 46%. Burn that number into your brain. You want to aim for exactly 46% attack speed from all your sources. If you go higher, you start getting diminishing returns. If you go lower, you're leaving free damage on the table. Hit that 46% sweet spot.
So after you hit that attack speed cap, you want to focus on a specific ratio of mastery to versatility. Just think of it like this. For every 1 point of mastery you have, you want about 2 points of versatility. Oh, and a huge pro tip. Crit is a completely useless stat for this build. Your wolf guarantees crits, so stacking it is a total waste. And here, we've got a little cheat sheet to make gearing even easier. You can see the pattern, right? You're basically stacking your mastery and haste on your weapon and your upper body gear. Then you shift over to mastery and versatility for things like your boots, gloves, and all your jewelry. It's a great little guide to keep handy. Next up, Section 5. We're talking Imagines, your summonable animal companions. These little guys are absolutely central to the build's power, and thankfully there's a really clear upgrade path to follow. This timeline lays it all out for you. You'll start with a basic Muku Scout and Bandit Scout. Your first big mission is to get that Muku Scout to +5. Then you move on to what's a really realistic goal for most FTP players, getting your Bandit Scout to +5. The Muku Chief? That's the very, very long-term project you work on after everything else is done. Okay, quick public service announcement. Do not fall for the spider crab trap. It looks really tempting early on because it gives you this huge chunk of mastery. But that stat falls off a cliff in the late game. It's a classic beginner mistake. Trust me, the Muku Imagines are a much safer and much stronger long-term bet.
And for our final section, let's talk about the ceiling. Let's dig into why this amazing F2P class eventually hits a wall, and why that's actually a really good thing for most of us.
So why don't the big spenders play this class? Well, a few reasons. First, its main stat, Mastery, just doesn't scale well. It gives you less and less benefit the more you stack. Second, since your character is still doing about a quarter of the total damage, any stat that only buffs your wolf is kind of inefficient by design. You're always losing out on some of its potential value.
And this is the beautiful part. The class's so-called weakness is its greatest strength of your F2P. Because it doesn't scale well with money, the power gap between your low investment character and some high-spending whale is tiny compared to other classes. It's the great equalizer. You get to be right there in the mix without spending a dime.
Which really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? The Wolfbow is the undisputed king for starting out, for leveling up, and for free-to-play in general. But you have to ask yourself, is all that incredible power and ease of use worth it, knowing that you might eventually hit a hard performance ceiling in the absolute extreme endgame?
And that wraps up our full breakdown of the Wolfbow. I really hope this helped you out. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one.